Hey friends and fellow bibliophiles, welcome to another round A Week of Weird. And for those of you who are new to my channel, I'm Kat, and I am super excited about this week-long readathon hosted by Crystal at Fiber Artsy and Jason at Jason's Weird Reads, where you read strange, bizarre, or out of the ordinary books and short stories. And I'll be vlogging my week of weird, and I want to kick this week off by sharing my TBR with you. I have chosen one book, two short stories, and one movie to celebrate the 5th round of Week of Weird. There are 4 prompts, and the first one is read a book or story featuring plants or fungus. And I have chosen The Voice in the Night by William Hope Hodgson that is about a strange invasive fungus. For prompt number 2, read a new to you author, I could have gone with the short story by Hodgson, but I decided I want to read a book that I've had on my shelf for a couple of years. It was given to me by my friend Kelsey, and it is called Ring Shout by P. Jaleel Clark. This cover intrigues me as well as the story. I'm thrilled about prompt number 3, which is to watch a weird movie. This is exciting. It's the first time we've ever been given this prompt, and I love movies. I have chosen In the Mouth of Madness, which is inspired by an H.P. Lovecraft short story and stars the wonderful Sam Neill. Then last but certainly not least, prompt number 4, which is to read our group story, The Man Who Found Out by Algernon Blackwood. This will be my first Algernon Blackwood story, and quite honestly, all of the stories that I've chosen for this week of weird are by authors that I've never read before. That's pretty exciting. And the movie that I've chosen, I've never watched before. So lots of fun stuff to look forward to this week. Okay, I am heading out to go pick my husband up from the hotel he's staying at overnight before he heads out of town early tomorrow morning. I think we're going to Chipotle. I'm going to start listening to the short story, The Voice in the Night, and then after dinner, I'll drop him off at the hotel, head back home, and I'll listen to whatever is remaining of the short story on my drive home. And then I'll update y'all on what my thoughts are on my first weird read. I'm back, and it's time for me to update you on the short story I listened to called The Voice in the Night. I really enjoyed this story. It is 100% weird. It takes place on the Pacific Ocean. There is a ship that has stalled on the ocean. It's a dark and calm night. It's described as starless, but there's also a fog that has rolled in, and it's making the visibility on the water difficult. Our narrator is a young sailor named George, and he happens to be on watch when he hears a rowboat approaching, and he knows it's a rowboat just because he can hear the oars slapping against the water. Then a mysterious voice speaks to him like, "Hello, is there any way that you can help me?" And George starts a conversation and finds out that the voice belongs to an old man. And the old man is just seeking some food for he and his fiancée, who happen to be stranded on a deserted island. At first, George is like, "Well, why don't you come aboard and I can help you out?" And he's actually trying to see who this is in the boat with his lamp. And the old man is like, "Move the lamp. I don't want you to see me, and I can't come aboard. It's not good for me to come aboard. It's dangerous." And while he's having this conversation, another sailor named Will comes on the deck, and he's like, "Well, let me take care of it." And again, he tells Will no. So Will and George just, they feel sorry for the guy, but they even offer to go get his wife, and he's like, "No, you don't understand. It's dangerous. I'm just here for the food." And so they decide, let's give him some provisions. They put it in a box and they send it off to him. He gets it, he puts it in his boat, and he rows away. And of course, Will and George think it's all very strange, but they proceed to go on with their night. And about 3 hours later, the mysterious man rows back out to the ship to tell Will and George thank you for the food, that he and his wife were very appreciative. He then proceeds to tell them his horrific tale. And that's where I'm going to stop, because it's not a very long story. The mysterious, horrific tale is the best part of the story, in my opinion. Yes, it is weird that you're on a ship and this rowboat approaches your ship from nowhere and you have this man that just wants some food. That's weird enough. But the tale that he tells, yeah, very weird. And I will remember to tell you that there is an invasive fungus that plays a role. Not going to tell you what the role is. You'll have to read the story. But anyway, I loved it. Eerie atmosphere out in the middle of nowhere on the ocean. I'm not a big fan of that. So that in itself is kind of creepy to me. Also, what transpires with the fungus is kind of funky. But yeah, I enjoyed it. 5-star read for me. I would like to check out more stuff by this author. And it was a wonderful story to kick off Week of Weird. Good morning and happy Wednesday. I'm a little bit behind on my reading for Week of Weird. I have decided that today I am going to start Ring Shout, and I want to tell you a little bit about it. In 1915, the birth of a nation cast a spell across America, swelling the clan's ranks and drinking deep from the darkest thoughts of white folk. All across the nation they ride, spreading fear and violence among the vulnerable. They plan to bring hell to earth. But even Ku Kluxes can die. Standing in their way are Morris Boudreaux and her fellow resistance fighters, a foul-mouthed sharpshooter and a Harlem hellfighter. Armed with blade, bullet, and bomb, they hunt their hunters and send the clan's demons straight to hell. But something awful's brewing in Macon, and the war on hell is about to heat up. Can Mars stop the clan before it ends the world? So this sounds really good. It sounds like it's going to be an intense read, but it is considered a weird read, so we shall see. But I have found it on audiobook through Libby, and I think I'm going to go ahead and start listening to it as I'm running my errands. I have sprints later on this evening, so I know I'll get some reading done during that time as well. It is such a pretty day today. I am just enjoying the sunshine immensely. Although it is a little bit too windy for me to be out here filming, so I'm going to head inside and I'll update you on Ring Shout, which I am enjoying. Yesterday was such a miserable day, so I figured I'd give my dogs a lot of outside time. And it's about time for me to go in. I'm feeling a little bit too windblown. Woo, it feels so much nicer inside. I didn't realize how chilly it was in the shade, especially with the wind, until I came inside. Love the sun, but the wind, not so much. So let me tell you a little bit of what's happening in Ring Shout. I'm enjoying it. I made it through chapter 1, page 28. I have been introduced to the 3 women who are what I would consider demon hunters. They are the ones that are going to hunt and get rid of these Ku Kluxers. And it's Maurice Boudreaux, there's Sadie, and then there's also Chef. So they are on top of a roof in Macon, Georgia. There is a parade for the Ku Klux Klan, and it's 4th of July. That parade's going on like a couple of streets over. So they're going to use this opportunity to kill a couple of these Ku Kluxers, is what they call them. So they end up finding a dead dog, and they're going to use this as bait. And it ends up drawing 3 Ku Kluxers down the alley near this warehouse that they're on top of the roof of. And a lot of stuff happens, a lot of action. They think that they have killed them. Well, lo and behold, they did not. They harmed them. They disfigured them, but they did not kill them. We get to see Maurice using her katana sword. She kind of reminds me of Michonne from The Walking Dead. Like her a lot. Really do like Sadie's character, even though she is a bit mouthy. And like Chef is kind of laid back, very smart, but each of them has their weapon of choice. Lots of action right off the bat. I like the characters. Love the descriptions of these Ku Kluxer demon things, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. So where the chapter ended is they're trying to get out of Dodge after taking out these 3 Ku Kluxers. And even though the parade's going on, there's lots of fireworks and bands are playing and there's a lot of noise, it's possible that someone could have heard what was transpiring a couple of streets over. So looking forward to diving back into it. Really having a good time so far. Good morning. It is time for an update. I am still reading Ring Shout and I am still having a great time with it. Last night I made progress on my sprints and I read a couple of pages, probably the majority of chapter 4 before I went to sleep, and then I finished up the chapter this morning. But let me just tell you what's going on so far with it. I have my notes here so I can go through this pretty quickly because I have to skedaddle. But I have learned the history of the birth of the Klan, and that there is a difference between being a Klan and being a Ku Klux. Apparently a Klan is part of this organization, the Ku Klux Klan, and they are still human. But if you transform into a Ku Klux, that means you have become a demon. So I think I got that all straight. I also learned about haints, and I was telling everyone last night about that on my sprints, but haint, H-A-I-N-T, is a colloquial term, and it means haunt. It refers to a ghost or evil spirit. Now, if you believe in hoodoo, it's a witch-like creature that chases victims to death. And one of the characters, Nana Jean, is wearing a haint blue dress. And so I'm like, what does that mean? That is a color. So apparently you can kind of prevent evil spirits from entering your home if you paint your home haint blue. So I find all of that fascinating because to me, that's when you're getting into the folklore. I'm also learning a little bit about the Gullah people. That is Nana Jean. She belongs to that community. Also, I found out that Maurice has a special gift. Not only can she see these monsters, the Ku Kluxes, but she's able to somehow travel, I guess, through time and space with the use of her sword, because she ends up touching her sword and it brings her to a place where she sees her three aunties, and they give her a message, a very important message about something that is coming for everyone in this community. And also, somehow, a portal that was left unguarded by Maurice has allowed this demon entity thing called Butcher Clyde to enter into like her subconscious. So it's like it's really happening. He is awful the way he's described. He has all these like little mouths all over his body. Anyway, sounds horrific. But between the aunties and Butcher Clyde, Maurice and her group that she is with, something horrible is coming for them. And it's going to be really, really bad. And that is where I have left off. I am loving this book. I love the historical elements. I think it's very engaging, and I'm going to continue reading it for today. I am actually about to leave to go to the South Shore to visit my friend Michelle. We're going to have a lunch together and kind of catch up because I haven't seen her in probably a couple of months. Then I'm going to go visit my dad. Then I'll come home. But I'm hoping between my traveling to and from the South Shore, I'm going to be able to get some reading time in. It's a beautiful day today, beautiful day for a drive. So I'm looking forward to everything I have planned for today. Well, I am home. I made it back from my adventures on the South Shore. I had an amazing visit with my friend Michelle. We had a wonderful lunch. Then we had tea and coffee afterwards at PJ's. And then I went over to my dad's house, got there about 5:30-ish, and caught up with him, watched an episode of television with him. He's watching a TV show called William and Mary. So I watched that for a little bit with him and then headed home. So I got home probably about maybe 8:20, something like that. So I made myself some popcorn and I read along while I was listening to the audiobook. I really enjoyed the audiobook. It was well done, in my opinion, and really added to the story. And if you look at this cover, I didn't realize this until almost the end. Those are little teeth in the eye part. You know how I was talking a little bit earlier about Butcher Clyde and he's got all these teeth? Well, this must be Butcher Clyde. That's all I can think. I really enjoyed this story. It was intense. We find out about her secret. It's finally revealed and very, very sad. Very, very sad. There's a couple of times in the story that I teared up. She has to make some choices. There is a battle with the enemy and, just ends up turning out a little bit differently than I thought it was gonna turn out at the end. But I'm happy with it overall. Just very different type of story. Very weird. It got really, really weird. pretty much like in chapters 7 and 8. I definitely would classify this as weird fiction, but it was a fun time. And I'm leaning towards 4 stars. I think a solid 4 stars for it. There were some things that I was a little confused by, some storylines I thought kind of went off on a tangent that could have like tightened up a little bit. But overall, enjoyable story, and so happy I finally got to it. Good afternoon and happy Friday. It's the beginning of the weekend. And I have some exciting plans this weekend, lots to look forward to. In fact, I'm going to kick it off by going to have lunch at one of my favorite restaurants in Hammond, Johnson's Kitchen. And I think I'm going to try something different this time when I go in. But before I leave, I just want to update you on what's going on with my week of weird. I have decided I am going to read, starting today, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. It's not very long. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the story about a young girl named Alice who falls down a rabbit hole and ends up in a mysterious wonderland with all kinds of fantastical creatures. She meets the Mad Hatter as well as the Queen of Hearts. This is the Cozy Cottage Book Club selection for March. I'm also reading it for middle grade March because it has flowers on the cover. So I reached out to Crystal and I said, I think Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is whimsically weird with some dark vibes flowing through it. Do you think that I could read this for a week of weird? And she said, absolutely. So I am counting this for the prompt of a new to you author because I have not read anything by Lewis Carroll. I have seen the animated version of this story as well as the live action. Love them both. So very happy to dive into this book as well because I've had this book in my collection for quite a while. Few years. It was part of an Owl Crate box that I had gotten. In fact, I have a bookmark that matches it. So I'll be using my bookmark along with my book. So I love being able to read something off my shelf. So I am going to listen to this as I'm running errands in town. I think I'm going to stop at Target, maybe Five Below. I'm thinking about stopping at Books A Million and renewing my reward card. Andrew's coming this Sunday, so we're going to go shopping, but I might go do that ahead of time. I also want to get to Dan to Dan, which is the 2nd volume in that manga series because it's very weird. And I also have the group read and the movie In the Mouth of Madness. I think Barry and I are planning to watch In the Mouth of Madness tomorrow afternoon. made it back from my adventures in town. I had a scrumptious lunch at Johnson's Kitchen. I couldn't decide between the DJ fries and the seafood quesadilla, so I asked my sweet waitress, Janisha, what do you think I should get? And she recommended the seafood quesadilla only because I normally get the seafood stuffed potato, and she says they use the same seafood sauce on the fries that they do on the potato. So I thought that was a wonderful recommendation. I love my quesadilla. It was so yummy. And then I also ordered a side salad with honey mustard dressing. Yummy, yummy. But I didn't stop there. I ordered a slice of cinnamon swirl pound cake. It's a new item on their menu. I took a small piece of it. Oh my goodness, so good. I brought the rest home. I want Barry, my hubby, to try it. Well, Barry, my son, could try it too. I'm not sure if he's had it yet, even though he works there. And then I decided to order some onion rings to go. We're having chicken salad sandwiches this evening, and I figured that would pair nicely with the sandwiches. The onion rings are to die for. Just saying. But I ran into a fellow actor at the restaurant as well. His name is Miguel, and we chatted for a few minutes. But yeah, I always love visiting the restaurant. It was the first time meeting Janisha. Wonderful family that owns the restaurant, and they have wonderful food. On the way to the restaurant is when I listened to Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I only made it through chapter 1. And Alice has fallen down the rabbit hole chasing the white rabbit. She gets to the bottom. She finds a key. It fits into the lock of a very tiny door. She can't fit through it, so she finds a bottle on a table. She drinks it after she discovers it's not poisonous, or she doesn't see a label that says it's poisonous. And then she shrinks and she becomes tiny, but she forgot about the key, which is left on the table. So then she decides she's going to eat a cake and see if maybe that'll make her bigger. And that's where I have left her. So when I left the restaurant, I went towards the mall area. I was going to go and stop a couple of places. And instead of listening to Alice's Adventures, my hubby called. And he was telling me he was on his way home. So that kind of changed what I decided to do. I ended up going to Just Books A Million, renewed my membership. I ended up buying myself something also, which I'm going to show you in a minute. I got a $10 gift card for renewing. I am collecting The House of Shivers. It's a new Goosebumps series. I've only read the first one. I'm planning on reading the second one for middle grade March. But the third one was out, and I happened to see that Cameron Chaney had gotten a copy of the fourth one. And I'm like, that was another reason I wanted to get to Books A Million. So book number 3 is called Night of the Living Mummy. And it says, that's a wrap. Happy Silverman is more than a little excited for his class trip to the museum. He loves learning about ancient Egypt and can't wait to see real mummies. At the museum, Happy leans as close to the mummy display as he possibly can. And something strange happens. His head spins, and he hears an unfamiliar voice ringing in his mind. The mummy is inside Happy's brain and needs his help or else. And then the fourth one is... Say my name, say my name. Look at that. The covers are great, in my opinion. Something fishy is going on. What happens when a talking fish, a runaway dog, and a herd of hog-like creatures descend on the woods behind Cody Bratchman's house? An absolute nightmare. His friend Sam wanted to stay inside and play video games all day, but Cody insisted they go wading in the creek. What starts as a fun morning in the water quickly turns into the scariest day the two friends have ever experienced. If Cody can't figure out why everything is going wrong, he's worried he won't live to swim another day. So very happy to have these two in my collection now. And for the rest of today, I am going to try to read as much of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Alex is hosting sprints, so I'm going to join in as long as I can. My hubby's outside playing with the dogs, so once he comes in, we'll probably eat dinner, watch an episode of Reacher. After Reacher, I'm probably going to go back to reading. Good afternoon. It is Saturday. I had quite a busy morning this morning. It was the first episode of my new project called Saturday Morning Momentum, Thrive in 2025. And we had a wonderful turnout for our first session of productivity. Very excited about it. So I did not get any reading done this morning. But after I hopped off, I did a couple of tasks that I needed to do in the Discord, and I jumped back into Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and I have made it to chapter 7. Alice finally figures out how to get to be the right size after she talks to a couple of very strange creatures that she comes in contact with. But she is now on a journey to the March Hare's house, and who knows what she's going to find when she gets there. But I love her interaction with the Cheshire Cat. I just want to share this one part with you. So she's trying to decide in which direction to go in. And the cat says, "In that direction lives a hatter, and in that direction," waving the other paw, "lives a March Hare. Visit either you like. They're both mad." And Alice says, "But I don't want to go among mad people." "Oh, you can't help that," said the cat. "We're all mad here. I'm mad, you're mad." And Alice said, "How do you know I'm mad?" "You must be," said the cat, "or you wouldn't have come here." So, such a delight, but extremely weird. There's so much nonsensical stuff happening, but it is so much fun. I'm so glad that I decided to pick it up for Week of Weird. I am about to head out for a tea at the Southeastern Library. I am one of the friends there, and one of the perks of becoming a Friends of the Library at Southeastern is you get to attend the tea. I get to see my friend Sue, who I worked with for many, many years. And since she's retired and I'm no longer at that school either, we do get together from time to time. I haven't seen her in quite a while, so I'm very excited about seeing her, having some tea, and see what they have planned for the time that we're there. Usually they invite an author to come and speak about their work and share whatever they are working on currently, past books. Sometimes they read from their work. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. Happy Sunday. Yes, my Week of Weird has spilled over into Sunday, and I think that's okay because I actually started Week of Weird a day late. I had a fun time yesterday, so much so that by the time it was over, I was a little too tired to update y'all. I did not even finish Alice's Adventures in Wonderland until this morning. So let me update you what happened yesterday. I went to the tea, had a terrific time. I met the lovely author who is there as the guest speaker. Her name is Whitney Collins. I had never heard of her before. I did not know any of her work, but she gave such a wonderful presentation, and she read the first paragraph from some of her stories out of each of her collections. And oh my goodness, they were so compelling to me that I had to buy the books. So I bought both of them, and I'm very excited to dive into them because I have to find out what has happened after that first paragraph. But yeah, she was amazing. Just really a sweet person. She is currently working on her first novel, which she is hoping to finish by the end of this year. What I thought was great was that I was listening to Alice's Adventures in Wonderland on the way to the tea and had just finished the part where Alice attends the tea party with the March Hare and the Mad Hatter. So here I was about to attend a tea. Once I got home, I did pick up Alice's Adventures again, read a couple of chapters before dinner. My husband had made us buscioloni, which is an Italian dish. He also had prepared some asparagus. It was so yummy. And then afterwards, I popped myself some popcorn, and Barry and I ended up watching the movie I chose for Week of Weird, which is In the Mouth of Madness. There were some really, really weird scenes in it. There is one part towards the end of the movie, and now I understand the reference when I see the photo that has been taken out of that movie that circulates on social media and has become a meme. So now I truly understand what that's all about. But it was okay. I'm kind of like teetering, maybe a 3.5. It's kind of probably pushing it if I give it a 4-star, but it was fine. It was enjoyable enough. Barry and I had a good enough time watching it. So I ended up this morning reading the last 2 chapters, and I was sad that it ended. I really had a good time with being in Wonderland. Even though most of the characters are disagreeable and give Alice a hard time, I love that she pushes back. She doesn't let them run over her. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. Quirky, whimsical. I love the nonsensical conversations and the wordplay. Kind of reminded me of the nonsensical situations and the wordplay in the Phantom Toll Booth. Also, some of the characters, just their behavior is absurd. A lot of illogical rules that happen in Wonderland, but it's so much fun. Love the Cheshire Cat. I think there are other stories that are taking place in Wonderland, so I need to check those out and read more of Lewis Carroll. So for the remainder of today, I am going to get to the other things that I wanted to read for Week of Weird. Andrew actually called in the middle of me filming my update to tell me that he is actually leaving his house. So he's going to be here a little bit earlier than I anticipated. He and I are going to Books A Million. He has some manga that he needs to purchase. So I do have two stories. I want to read The Man Who Found Out, which this is by Algernon Blackwood. I found it on Hoopla, so I can listen to it, but I'm also going to read it while I'm listening to it because it is free on Project Gutenberg. This is about a researcher that goes on an expedition to find the tablets of the gods which have plagued his dreams since boyhood. And then I also want to read the next volume of Dan to Dan. If you had watched my last Week of Weird, this is when I started my adventures with Dan to Dan. And this manga was recommended to me by my son Andrew. And I loved the first volume. It was so very weird. But there is a character called Turbo Granny, and Akaran has a situation with Turbo Granny, and it left us on a cliffhanger, as most manga does, each volume. That's how they get you to keep reading. But anyway, let me tell you about what this volume is about. It says, Okaran, a high school boy obsessed with supernatural phenomena, is cursed by Turbo Granny. To break the curse, Okaran and his classmate Momo Ayase challenged Turbo Granny to a high-stakes race, because that's why she's called Turbo Granny. She chases you, races you. But Turbo Granny's assassin, a bound spirit in the form of a giant crab, has other plans. So this should be a lot of fun. I think what I'm going to do is, it takes Andrew about 45 minutes to get here, and that's about the length of the audiobook for The Man Who Found Out. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start reading that. If I can update y'all before we go to Books A Million, I will. If not, I'll update you when I get back, and then I'll go into Dan to Dan. So I'll see y'all later. I'm back, and Andrew is here, but he's taking care of feeding an ice cream bar, so I figured I would hop on and give you my thoughts of The Man Who Found Out. So the story opens up with Professor Mark Ebor in his laboratory with his assistant, Dr. Laidlaw, and they're having a conversation about him wanting to go on an expedition to find the tablets of the gods. Now, Professor Ebor is not only a scientist, but he's also a mystic. So he goes on to his expedition, and months later, he comes back. Dr. Laidlaw meets him and is just taken aback by the way his friend looks. It's totally different physical appearance. And then as he talks to him, he also realizes that he's mentally changed as well, and he's just not his normal happy self that he was before. So their relationship kind of changes a little bit, and Laidlaw discovers that not only did Ybor find the tablets, but he translated them, and what he discovered is not a good thing, and he wants to make sure that it is not put out in the world. So he's kind of hidden it away and has told him at some point he will share it with Laidlaw. So time passes and Professor Ybor passes away, but before he passes away, he tells Laidlaw, if you must read them, but you must destroy them after you do that. And that's where I'm going to stop, because of course Laidlaw is curious. He wants to know what this was all about that caused such a drastic change in his friend and colleague. So he, reads them, like I said, and I'm not going to let you know if he destroys them or what he does or how it impacts him, if it's similar to what Ybor goes through, because I think that's what makes this story like fascinatingly weird. It's like a weird mystery story. It's a slow burn, and I enjoyed it. I don't mind a slow burn if I think it pays off, and I think it does pay off in the end. I really enjoyed Algernon Blackwood's writing. I would read more by him, and I ended up giving this story 4 stars. I finished Dan to Dan, and I loved it. Loved it as much as the first one. It is so weird and crazy and action-packed, and it has a giant crab in it. That's the earthbound spirit to Turbo Granny. So much stuff going on in here. But Momo and Acheron are on the run after they're being chased by this crab. It is actually the spirits of all these young murdered girls that haven't crossed over into the realm that they're supposed to be belonging to. And Turbo Granny feels sorry for these spirits. It's somehow why she's connected to them in the tunnel. But Turbo Granny took something personal from Acheron in the first volume. Because they think they defeat her, he gets that personal body part back, but then discovers that she has kept another personal body part. And the only way he can get those back is if he can collect them in golden form. But Turbo Granny doesn't know what she did with them. She lost them somehow in the tussle. But now Turbo Granny is this cute little kitty cat, but she doesn't have all of her full powers. Somehow her astral part of her is still stuck in Acheron, which causes him to turn into an essence of Turbo Granny, but it makes him fast, it makes him be able to fight, and they encounter another weird looking woman. She is hideous, that's all I can say. But there's also a little bit of romance going on. There's a new character named Aria who thinks that Momo is a demon, so she's somehow going to perform an exorcism on her, and that's when that weird woman creature comes and thinks that Aria is her daughter. She's some kind of a yokai. Anyway, lots of fun. 5-star read for me. I am going to continue with this series because I really like it. I mean, I'm showing you the back because of the crab. The crab's up at the top also. But anyway, a good time. Loved it. Now, Andrew and I did go shopping at Books A Million. I got 3 books out of the bargain section, and I got a book just because I wanted it. I was looking for what Feast at Night, that's what it was. The Next T Kingfisher and the Swarm Soldier series. They had a copy, but the back part of it, the binding was weird, and I wasn't going to buy a new book with some kind of a defect. So I bought a new Stephen Graham Jones book. So let me show you what I got. We ended up saving the $10 plus the 10% for being a member, and then Andrew had, I think, like $12 left on a gift card. So we did pretty well with savings. He got his new manga, which I did pay for that, but I can only count the book spending for what I buy for myself. I clarified that with Alex the other night on her sprints. So I have been eyeing this book up for some time. It's YA, and it is called The Taking of Jake Livingston. I got it for less than $6.97 because they have to apply, the membership rewards. But I just love this cover, and when I spotted it in bargain, I picked it up. It says, living in two worlds is exhausting, and no one knows this better than 16-year-old Jake Livingston. His working-class, diverse neighborhood is a far cry from the world of St. Clair Prep, where he is one of the only Black students, constantly at the mercy of racist teachers and peers who don't understand him. But when his neighbor, a survivor of a grisly school shooting, is murdered, and the bloody initials of the now dead shooter, Sawyer Doon, are left on the entryway wall of Jake's home, Jake is forced to confront another world he wishes he could escape, the world of the dead. So it sounds really interesting. And then this is a book that I've had on my wish list for a while, and I heard about this from Krista at Books and Jams, and this is Falling by T.J. Newman. This one was $7.97, but then I got money off of it because of my reward card. And this one says, you just boarded a flight to New York. There are 143 other passengers aboard. What you don't know is that 30 minutes before the flight, your pilot's family was kidnapped. For his family to live, everyone on your plane must die. The only way the family will survive is if the pilot follows his orders and crashes the plane. Enjoy the flight. Next is the most recent addition to the Kay Scarpetta series by Patricia Cornwell. It's called Unnatural Death. So this is the next book that I need to read in the series. Got it for $7.97 minus discount. So in this one, Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Kay Scarpetta finds herself in a Northern Virginia wilderness examining the remains of two campers wanted by federal law enforcement. The victims have been savage beyond recognition, and other evidence is terrifying and baffling, including a larger-than-life footprint. After one of the most frightening body retrievals of her career, Scarpetta must discover who would commit murders this brutal and why. So looking forward to another adventure with Kay Scarpetta. And then the last book is the only one that I paid full price minus discounts. And that is Stephen Graham Jones's newest book, The Buffalo Hunter. I guess it's Buffalo Hunter. This chilling historical novel is set in the nascent days of the state of Montana, following a Blackfeet Indian named Goodstab as he haunts the fields of the Blackfeet Nation looking for justice. So just really beautiful book, and looking forward to reading something else by Stephen Graham Jones. Well, friends, that's a wrap on my week of weird, round 5. I had a blast. I enjoyed everything that I read this week. With the exception of Dan to Dan, everything I read was by a new-to-me author, which is so exciting. I enjoyed my weird movie, and I also had such a delightful time with all of the activities that I got up to this week, and I really love all of my new books that I'm adding to my personal library. What about you? Did you participate in Week of Weird? If so, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know what you read and what was one of your favorite books or stories. And I want to give a big thank you to Jason and Crystal for hosting Week of Weird. I'm already looking forward to Week of Weird Round 6 in September. And thank you, all of you, for watching. I really appreciate you stopping by. And until our paths cross again, stay amazing and be adventurous.